When I say, oh, it's my red hair, that's really not quite true because I grew up in a household where I learned how to react in anger to situations. And that's sort of my default. I'm Amelia. This is Reinventing You. I'm so glad you're here. If you have not subscribed to this channel, what's stopping you? Please do so today. You can do that in several ways. There is a square here on this screen and you can click on that. Or you can go below and there's either a red button that says subscribe or there's some red letters that say subscribe, and you can click on that and become a subscriber today. I post twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'm happy to have you join me at any time. I took a parenting class several years ago and I relearned something I should have known, and that is 90% of what happens to you is out of your control. I mean, there's not anything you can do about it. The remainder, the last 10%, is all about how you react. So if you can control your reactions, then you can control a lot of what happens to you in your life. And in fact, this whole concept is very much linked to how your brain works. In other words, you can change the way you react to situations and thereby rewire your brain. The concept of 90-10, that is 90% of what happens to you is out of your control, but 10% is based on your reactions to what happens in the 90%, is something that Stephen Covey talked about several years ago in one of his books. And maybe you have read his books or have understood the concept before, and it really is something that you have to internalize. In fact, you have to learn how to react properly. In other words, how to rewire your brain. The story that I have that really has stuck with me. Okay, so you're a father and you're getting ready for work and you come downstairs and your daughter is in the kitchen and she turns around and she runs into you and you have a full cup of coffee in your hand and it splashes up against your white shirt. You get upset with your daughter and you yell at her and she gets upset and she starts crying and she runs out, and then you have to change your shirt, and then she's like running late for school and she doesn't eat, and now she's hungry and you're all bitter going on to school and you drop her off, but now you're late for work. All of a sudden you realize you've left your briefcase at home and you had to change your shirt, and you speed to work and you get caught and you have a speeding ticket and you get to work and you're in a bad mood, and that continues the rest of the day. What if instead of yelling at your daughter and getting all upset and overreacting and speeding, getting tickets, all that kind of stuff, what if instead you come down for breakfast, you grab a cup of coffee, your daughter turns around and she rushes into you, your coffee's gets all over your shirt. She says, oh, I'm sorry. And you say, it's okay. It's an accident. Things like this happen all the time. And you calmly put your coffee in the sink and then go and change your shirt and come down and make plans for the day. You calmly take your daughter to school. She's eating breakfast. You're talking and laughing. You haven't been flustered when you left the house, so you remembered your briefcase. You were able to get to work without any incidents, and you have a lot better day, all based on that one reaction. Now, my problem is that, of course, I guess it's the story I've always told myself, I'm redhead, and redheads sort of have this sort of get angry free card, like you're going to get angry no matter what. But I know that my own father, who's not redheaded, we're not blood related, he's my adopted dad, but he's my dad, he has a terrible temper. A lot of people who know him probably was like, he has a temper. Oh yeah. So when I say, oh, it's my red hair, that's really not quite true because I grew up in a household where I learned how to react in anger to situations. And that's sort of my default method. So what I have to do, because I know that 10% of life is how I react to things, then I have to rewire my brain. And it means changing my story, not saying, oh, it's my hair, oh, it's the way it was raised. It's I can control my temper. I can think before I react. I can figure out what is the best thing to do in this situation and not just open my mouth and let it spew forth, but simply say, okay, take a step back, be calm, I tell you this because it's the same with you in your life. However you react, it's only 10% of what happens. You can't control the 90%. All you can do is control the 10%. This is important in reinventing yourself, because if you've always done it the same way, if you've always reacted in a negative way, whether it's passive aggressive, whether it's angry, whether it's tears, whether it's putting other people down, sarcasm, whatever it is, however you've learned to react, if you want to reinvent yourself, a lot of times you're going to have to change how you react, how you handle that 10%. That can make the biggest difference in your life and truly change who you are, what you're doing, what you're about. Are you ready to reinvent your life? I hope that you will change to how you react to things that happen in life that are beyond your control. I invite you to subscribe if you haven't yet, and if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. I appreciate the love. I'm Amelia. This is Reinventing You. Have a great one.